What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Here we are, the new year, 2024, and a new Tabletop Takeout Tuesday. How's everyone doing out there? Hope the new year started off well for you, and I hope the rest of it's going to be even better. Now, this is not a review show that I do. Tabletop Takeout is just points of interest that I have about certain games. So don't come in thinking this is a full review, but it is my opinion on something. And in this case, we're going back old school. Oldish school. We're going to be looking at a D&D module that me and the 20-Sided Warriors finished up last year, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. What it was good, why it was good, how it worked, what didn't work, and what I think it would mean if you ran this module. All right, so why don't you join me down the table, and together, my friends, we are going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons Forge of Fury. Dungeons & Dragons The Forge of Fury is a module by Richard Baker that came out with the launch of the 3rd edition game. It was part of the original series of modules that you could run through to take your characters from 1st to 20th level. This is the second module in that series, and it's for 3rd level players. I've run this module never before. I believe I had started it once before back in the 3rd edition days, but for various reasons, when the time 3rd came out, maybe because they didn't have a lot of material, I was retconning a lot of AD&D stuff, 1st edition AD&D stuff. So this kind of fell through the cracks for me a little bit. So never having completely run this, I did decide, let's just jump into it. Because I read through the module, we were ready to start a campaign, COVID was over, right? So let's get back together and run this. So I looked through it and I realized this is a good module. I want to run this. Now, it's not uncommon for me to start my players at 3rd level. Very infrequently do I have them start at 1st. Unless we're playing basic D&D. But we weren't. So I gave everyone the opportunity to start with 3rd level characters and we would jump right into the Forge of Fury. I gave them backgrounds, made their characters seem alive and full. Overall, this module ran great. This filled all the purposes and needs that I had. Just about. You know, it starts off, which we did it mainly in dialogue and background story, off-screen things, so to speak, before we started the game. But there is an opportunity at the beginning, depending on how much pre-stuff you want to get into, that you can have at least one little wandering encounter wilderness adventure. But this is mainly a dungeon delve. And I like the fact that it's broken into 2 different types of dungeons, really. You have the made dungeons, the carved out, the walled, stoned dungeons, you know? And then there's the cavern system. There's also a lot of water in this module without it being a water-based, waterborne adventure. I thought those were good. The fact that it takes place in a black, dark cave, I really wanted to introduce to the group right from the get-go. Because not all of them had characters that could see in the dark or had low light condition. So this was going to be a point that they were going to have to make sure, are they carrying torches? If so, where in the line are the torch bearers as opposed to the characters with the dark vision? How's this all affecting them? That worked out great. It really taught them something going into the game about what to expect. The foes in the game were traditionally one-dimensional. There wasn't a lot there for the characters to get into other than just hack and slash. So this is where I stepped in, and knowing this, having read the module before going into it, working in the backstories of the characters, I did use the opportunity either directly in their origin stories or in the moments, the prelude leading up to the adventure, that there was some connection to the orcs, the orc tribes, going on between the characters. Something to set up some animosity right from the get-go. So that was good. One of the characters in the party, Rob's character, his rogue cleric of Dalt, a Greyhawk god of thieves. Well, not really of thieves. Thieves do tend to worship him. He's the god of locks and doors and archways. He's obsessed with both being the better mouse and the better mouse trap. So Rob's rogue was a cleric of that god. He's a half-orc. So I used that very heavily to bring a little bit of life into this module. With him being a half-orc, I set up in his origin story contention in the orc religious community going on, and he's part of it. Being a good-ish orc, having no religious ties whatsoever to Grumsh or any of the orcish pantheon, made him a mark to the other orcs. So I put that in his backstory as well and let it develop a little bit here in this module. It's an ongoing story that's not going to be solved probably for another module or two. These are the equivalent of side quests, I guess you could say, that I'm doing with all of the characters. But for this particular module, that was a great way to bring both a personal emotional feeling into this module for one of the characters, while still at the same time also having all of them had an encounter or encounters with the orcs leading up to this. So that was a good hook. Nice way to start everything off. Now, I'm not going to get into the characters and what they did. That's actually coming up this month. The last Thursday of this month, the fourth Thursday, is there 5? I can't remember. The fourth Thursday of this month is obviously still going to be Tales from the Table, and is our epilogue episode with the players just pulling everything together, really. So I'll let them talk about that for Thursday's episode. I'm just talking about the module itself, how it ran. There were some good surprises in it that I thought as a DM, as well as for the players. The way the river system was set up, I enjoyed. I tweaked it a little bit, but yeah, the water system running through the dungeon and where everything goes to ends up, that played a very interesting part of the module. I'm glad that was in there. More than once did the characters end up getting wet. And on one occasion, one of them, yes, did go over the waterfall. But in every encounter there was water, whether it was a player or whether it was one of the adversaries, somebody ended up going over a waterfall. That was really fun. Well, the characters are going to bring up their arch enemy. I did use this opportunity to bring in an arch enemy, or the beginnings of one, with the orc archer that kept escaping in every scene and was just driving Ron crazy. He is Grutch. He is rhymes with you ever, I was thinking of the name, like if you have a grudge against somebody, you know. So he is he's going to be returning. There are going to be a few characters in between the stories, from the stories that they've met, that are going to be part of this group. The players have already figured it out. I keep my mouth shut. They've already figured out. They're already talking about the basically their Legion of Doom that I'm forming. Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom. But this is all because the way the module set things up, it made it very easy to do that. And running the module intelligently. And what I mean by that is not every monster adversary is going to stand there and just blow for blow until it's dead. No, some of them are going to run. Some of them may raise an alarm. Some of them may be trying to escape. And that's what happened here with Grutch. Started off, he was running ahead to alarm the rest of the orcs. And it just ended up, he ran away by the end of it. Well, near enough the end. I don't want to give too much away. You should watch the Tales from the Table episodes where we talk about this game. There was a pretty good number of twists that the module gave me that I was able to pull off with the gang, that caused the situation to seem more intense, right? Give it a sense of urgency that I did it with. One of the things is with the bodies going over, because the guys noticed that I kept keeping track of when the dispatched bodies that they were fighting in this raging stream were going over the edge. So they figured that out too. My players are pretty smart. But they knew something was happening, but they didn't know what. Right? So that was an opportunity, and I'm not going to give anything away right here. You should watch the episodes and find out yourself. But they gave a great opportunity for a magnificent ending that actually happened a scene too soon. But instead of letting that ruin everything, I treated the ending of the module as an epilogue. And that worked out fine. Very interesting, very good too, with some of the stuff that we pulled off. The module was large enough that they did not investigate everything. Some of that was due to the fact that they felt urgency. As I mentioned before, there was a few adventures where not every player could make it to the table. And like every DM, I absolutely hate when that happens. And also like every other DM, I deal with it. I handle it. And in one of the cases, I believe it was for Thandor. Right? I think that was for Kai's character. He got shot by Grutch. It was like the same day he came and joined the party, he wasn't going to be able to make the next game. So I ended that off with Grutch hitting with a poison arrow, and they had to spend time to collect. The next adventure without him really had very little to do with the module, although they were advancing in the map. It was more about them trying to find the ingredients I gave them when they made their rolls and they figured it out. And I said, okay, here are the ingredients that you believe you can find in a cavernous system like this that you can use to counter the poison. That worked out great. It gave them a sense of urgency. Like I said, we have a timing now. As I told them, and I meant it, that if they did not get the cure together by the end of that session, Thandor was dead. I don't think that's too cruel. You may be out there saying that I shouldn't be doing that to my players. Kai is a seasoned D&D player, first of all. Second of all, the character literally just walked into the game. It's not like it had a big bat. Like I wouldn't do that. I'd feel bad. If it happens, it happens in the game. But I wouldn't go out of my way to do it to any of the players, especially now after they've been involved with their characters for a year. No. At this point, character death is a tragedy. It's nothing I look forward to as a DM, but if it happens, it happens. So that's why at that point, I didn't care. If they didn't make the ingredients, Thandor was dead. And he would just make a new character because he just started and he was on the fence between Ranger and Druid anyway. So he already had his ideas what he wanted to do if anything bad happened. Anyway, getting back to the mod. Well, this is part of the module because they gave me the chance to do it. But anyway, so as they were on this time crunch, they did miss a lot, especially in the second level, the Glitterheim. They missed so much of that. They never did go back to finish the fight with the Troglodytes. They were, by that point, they were ready to just move on. And then finding all those ingredients, having an encounter with the Troglodytes left them off at a point where they were just going to be able to advance to the next level anyway. So they took that opportunity. Worked out well. And that's because of the way the module handled it. I added things onto it, but if it wasn't for the way the module had this all set up, I wouldn't have been able to set all that up myself. Now, I liked some of the monsters that they had in here, besides the more intelligent, conniving, wily, and warlike orcs that this module had in it. There was a few other monsters that took the party by surprise. The okra jelly was a black pudding. I had to use the okra jelly. They didn't have black pudding mini. So I used okra jelly, but it was a black pudding. A horrific scene with our monk and the black pudding, also with a roper, which I almost changed to a stow roper, but that would have been way too tough. In fact, the roper was a very intense scene. There was only two of the characters on that particular level. This is one of the times that somebody got washed down a waterfall and somebody else went down to help them and they both got stuck. Never split the party. But sometimes it happens. And it happened in this case. And there was no way that Rob and Andrew were going to be able to take a stow roper. So I didn't change it to that. They would have had a hell of a hard time, just the two of them, with the roper as it was, but they handled it intelligently, and I'm not going to give anything away, but they didn't end up having to fight it. Very good. There was a lot of opportunities like that. Something I changed for the module's sake, because, you have to read your party. And I could see that at times things were a little bit too easy. But what I did not expect was how they ramped things up near the end. They didn't even officially make it all the way down to the Black Lake, the furthest level down, pre-written by the module. They caused such a ruckus. So many orcish bodies went over that waterfall down into the lake. It awoke the dragon. Nightscale came up to find out what the hell was going on and why it was awoken from its slumber. This was a great scene. The module set up such an opportunity here between the orcs, the dragon, the party. Actually, at this point, no, it wasn't the orcs at that point anymore. It was the Grey Dwarves. It was the Djurgr. Sorry, not the Suburbans. The Djurgr. I can't even say that other name. Yeah, it was the Djurgr at that point. And we were having a hell of a hard time with the Djurgr. In fact, one of them escaped. They were illusionists. And yeah, he's hooked up with Grutch. Anyway, that's for another video. This gave us a great opportunity for such a huge role-playing scene here because the dragon was under an illusion that it was a size category larger, which if it had been a large size dragon, it would have caused fear and would have had spells and magic. It would have been a much different fight for the Djurgr and the party. But this is all because of the way the module pulled everything together. It's written really well. The characters themselves, even though I did a lot of tweaking for my own version of this campaign, I have to admit that the characters, the story, Richard Baker put together a great module when he did this. And, keep your eye out for other works by him. If you're playing any edition of Dungeons & Dragons where Richard Baker has written something, I'd pay attention to it. And if you're looking for a really good module, this is third level, as I've said. But it's going to give you a couple of different terrain types to work with, levels of darkness and light to work with, and multiple different villains, not just one group of orcs. That's all you think it is walking into it. But there's so many more that you're going to encounter. And it's a great way for low-level characters to experience some of these different types of races and monsters. The dragon. I mean, come on. To be able to face a dragon in your first or second adventure, depending on if you run a first-level campaign first or not, that's great. You're in a dungeon fighting a dragon. How can you get more D&D than that? So yeah, go check out the module, see what other reviewers have to say. I have no idea what other reviewers have to say about this module at all, because I really don't care. So, but you go check out what they have to say. If it's possible, if anyone's done a playthrough of it, watch that. If not, check out my Tales of the Table. We got 13 episodes all about this module here. And in every single episode, you get to see a behind the scenes with me building everything, explaining to you how I build the table designs up. And then the second half of the video is the party giving you a recap of the previous adventure. So yeah, that'll tell you everything you need to know. But the spoilers, though, there will be spoilers, obviously. I'm trying to keep it as light as I can here, but it's going to happen. But go check out more information. This is a great module, and I think more people need to play it. If you play Dungeons and Dragons, if you're a DM, you should run this for your party. If you're a player, you should ask your DM to run it for your party. That's what I had to think about it. All right, thank you for checking out this video. I'm your buddy Big John here, G for Two Gun Picture presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.